Next on Good Morning El Paso today, a deadly rollover involving this man is now bringing serious allegations to light. Did he have improper relationships with a probation officer? There's now an investigation.
And starting next week, El Paso International will be losing out on flights. We'll tell you why and what's being done to add more destinations.
The risk is minimal. Overabundance of caution, we're taking several actions to make sure that the public health, safety, and welfare is protected.
There is now a second possible case of Ebola in Texas. This after a man in Dallas who had the virus died. New information coming up.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso.
The first patient with Ebola has died here in the U.S., but could we already be dealing with another case of it? Airlines now also taking extra precautions this morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bob Harp.
And I'm Floren. Good morning. We'll get to the latest developing on Ebola, but first, we'll check in again with meteorologist Crystal Cly. She has a pretty good-looking forecast for today. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, still a nice forecast. We've got the isolated to scattered chances of rain later on today. This morning, clouds and radar very nice outside. We had the thicker cloud coverage and even a line of rain move through in the early a.m. hours of our Thursday. They've since broken apart and the clouds are weakening also. The system itself is still off to our west over Arizona, what is left of Simon, meaning that we do still have a chance of rain in the forecast, but like yesterday, not looking great as dry air at the upper level has started to push on in. As for your temperatures this morning, also very nice. 64 degrees in El Paso, winds 5 miles per hour. Las Cruces, you're at 62 degrees with 7-mile-per-hour winds out of the west-southwest. And notice we do have that moisture in place. Your relative humidity at 76%, better than the 40s we've been seeing the last few days. Those chances of rain still not super strong, but we are talking the chance. We'll look at it in your full forecast up in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Crystal. Well, happening right now, a Texas man is in quarantine for possible Ebola.
This is a scary story here in Texas after Thomas Eric Duncan died yesterday. We go behind the scenes right now with Timon Bradley, who's been following this story.
Overnight, a memorial service for Thomas Eric Duncan, the first person to die from Ebola in the U.S. This morning, concerns about another possible Ebola case. A sheriff's deputy who went to Duncan's apartment is being kept in isolation while he's tested for the disease. He was rushed to the hospital yesterday after coming down with flu-like symptoms.
While we are being told the risk is minimal, overabundance of caution, we're taking several actions to make sure that the public health, safety, and welfare is protected.
While authorities continue monitoring anyone who may have come in contact with Duncan, across the country, U.S. officials are beefing up the nation's defenses against Ebola. Passengers traveling from West Africa to 5 of the nation's busiest airports will now undergo new screening procedures, including having their temperatures taken.
What we're doing is putting in additional protection. We've been very clear that as long as Ebola continues to spread in Africa, we can't make the risk zero here.
Some airport workers are now worried about their risk of exposure.
No justice, no peace.
Overnight, these airplane cleaners in New York walked off the job, saying they're fed up with unsafe and unsanitary working conditions. At U.S. hospitals, healthcare professionals are now practicing drills, putting on full-body protective suits, masks and gloves, so that they're ready to respond to potential cases.
The other Ebola patient in this country who's being treated in Nebraska is receiving the same experimental drug as Duncan, and he underwent a blood transfusion yesterday. Timon Bradley, ABC News, Washington.
More headlines now. Revelations of an inappropriate relationship between a probation officer and her probationer are now prompting an investigation.
Yeah, this at the West Texas Community Supervision and Corrections Department. Remember, these allegations came to light after Sunday night's deadly wreck involving this man here, 25-year-old David Zavila. Police say Zavila was drunk when he crashed, killing his passenger, 43-year-old Cynthia Mendoza.
ABC7 has learned that Mendoza actually served as Zavala's probation officer. That is, until she was removed from his case in May of last year. The employees union said it has documentation proving Mendoza advocated for Zavala's early release, even though her supervisor was allegedly made aware of their relationship last year. The union's employee director says this agency needs new leadership.
I don't want to stretch it too far, but had there been a proper intervention, had this relationship been disrupted, had there been some effective counseling applied here, it may not have resulted in the tragedy that unfolded last weekend.
Powell was saying that they also fielded complaints from probation department employees about discrimination, retaliation, and favoritism. Powell hopes to address these concerns with the Council of Judges, which actually oversees that office, and that should happen next in October 30th in their next meeting. Also this morning, El Paso Water Utilities is still pushing for an increase in your stormwater fee. It says if it doesn't increase it, it will run out of money for the flooding projects in just a few years. So they have finished $24 million worth of projects and construction of others priced at $57 million. But they still have $144 million worth of projects to complete. Without the fee increase, EPWU says it will have to wait decades to finish the projects instead of only 5 years. The system is designed to withstand 100 years of storms, which is about 2 to 3 inches of rain in 24 hours. Right now, the average stormwater fee for a residential customer is about $3. The water utility wants to raise that to about $5 a month, and that would happen over the next 5 years.
Today is the last day of a familiarization tour for dozens of travel writers, meeting planners, and business consultants here in the Sun City. If you're watching this morning, welcome. Visit El Paso, and the city of El Paso teamed up to bring these professionals here and to show them around. The goal is to get them to bring their businesses here to El Paso. The topics of development, our development, tourism, and other economic development, just some of the things discussed. This is the second FAM tour, by the way. The first one was in May.
A man who admitted to stealing personal emails from the New Mexico governor, Susana Martinez, he's now going to face some jail time. Jaime Estrada once served as the campaign manager for Governor Martinez. Well, yesterday he pleaded with the judge to give him probation instead of serving time. But the judge sentenced him to 9 months in prison, or in jail rather. He was also ordered to pay a $10,000 fine. He will serve 3 years of supervised release after he completes his jail sentence.
More people in El Paso County are registered as organ donors than the state average, but donation advocates say it's still just not enough. Members of the Southwest Transplant Alliance, along with Operation Hope, met with the local media discussing their new awareness campaign. The goal, to educate borderland residents.
You affect immediately up to 50 people through not only organ donation but also tissue donation, and being able to kind of live on through others is probably one of the biggest benefits.
It's important to let your loved ones know if you do want to be an organ donor and to get on the state registry. We have a link on exactly how you can sign up. It's easy. Just go to KVIA.com.
So soccer, right? It's a big deal here in El Paso.
Big deal.
Yeah, soccer fans, listen up. An MLS Major League Soccer team coming here to the borderland may be a true possibility.
A lot of people excited about that. The push for a team, of course, started back in June. That's when we started covering it here. ABC 7's Luke Liddon is live right now with more on this. Good morning.
Good morning, Hillary and Bob. I'm right outside the Southwest University Park where the Mountain Star Sports Group, the owner of the Chihuahuas, is pushing to get the MLS team right here in El Paso. And if you remember, the LA soccer team based Chivas faced off against Brazil's Cruzeiro Esporte back in July at the UTEP Sun Bowl. And that game was kind of seen as a true test to see if the tickets would ultimately sell and ultimately prove if El Paso is deserving of an MLS team. The expectation was 15,000 fans would show up, and the fans actually beat that. UTEP said nearly 15,200 fans came to watch the game, showing El Paso really may be a true option for a major league team to move here. The league currently has 19 teams, but they want to expand to 24 teams by 2020. And if El Paso were to get a team, the stadium would most likely be downtown and by the border. The Mountain Star president, Alan Ledford, said it would also likely seat 18 to 20,000 fans. And I guess we'll have to wait and see if we get one step closer when that meeting goes underway at 11 a.m. But for now, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Luke.
How cool would that be? And don't forget that MLS game, that exhibition game, was on a Sunday night, very late. So still to bring 15,000. Yeah, exactly. Here's a live look at traffic. I-10 and Trade Center on the west side. Looks pretty good out there as of right now. If we see any trouble spots this morning, we're here for a while to let you know about it.
We are. Well, if it's not Ebola or tuberculosis, now we have to worry about enterovirus 68.
And there are reports now of the virus showing up across Texas, although testing is not widely available. We'll have some tips on how to stay safe and how you might be able to avoid it.
And these pretty lights downtown, I saw them for the first time last night. I love them, but do you think they're distracting to drivers on I-10? Many of you did chime in a lot of different opinions. We'll tell you what the overwhelming response was, though, coming up.
And meteorologist Crystal Clyde is working hard on that forecast. Good morning.
Good morning. Still a slight chance of rain in some parts of our viewing area. We'll look at where we could see rain and also talk about the drier conditions towards your weekend up after the break.
Thanks, Crystal. This is ABC 7, where news comes first.
You're watching ABC 7's Good Morning El Paso with Hillary Floren, Bob Harp, Storm Track Weather Meteorologist Crystal Cly, and live reports from Denise Olivas.